Let's start with the prayers. Om
Sadashiva-Samarambham Shankaracharya-Madhyamam Asmadacharya-Paryantam Vande Guru-Paramparam
Saraswati
Namastuvyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir-bhavatu me sada.
Om
Sahana-bhavatu Sahano-bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhinamattu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vasudevendra-rubhram Tattvabodham Gurum Mumukshunam Hitaर्थाय Tattvabodho Bhidiyate.
Om Namah Shivaya. So now let's continue from where we left. The audio is clear? Can you all hear me clearly?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Fine. So last time we were discussing, or we had just started discussing Jivan Mukta. So we said that the one who has this firm knowledge that Aham Brahmasmi, and not just Aham Brahmasmi, Sarvam Brahma, everything is Brahman. The one who has this knowledge, the one who has acquired this knowledge from the Vedantic scriptures, from a qualified teacher, such a person is called Jivan Mukta. So the one who is liberated while living. So moksha is not something that we say comes after death. It does not come in the next life or later on in some other loka, but it is here and now. So this idea of moksha is presented, and such a person who has this clear understanding and with it all the associated benefits of the Aham Brahmasmi knowledge, such a person is called Jivan Mukta, liberated while living. So now with this we have begun the fifth top chapter, which is the jnana phalam, the benefits of having this knowledge. So now there is a new word in this sentence. We have seen this last time. So the teacher says, tells that this person who has this knowledge is called Jivan Mukta. Now this word Jivan Mukta is a new word. So the student asks in the next line, what is a, who is Jivan Mukta? So he asks, we will read this and then look at the explanation. Nanu Jivan Mukta kaha.
Nanu Jivan Mukta kaha.
Yatha dehoham purushoham.
Yatha dehoham purushoham.
Pramanoham shudroham asmi.
Pramanoham shudroham asmi.
Iti drida nishchayaha.
Iti drida nishchayaha.
Tatha naham brahmanaha.
Tatha naham brahmanaha.
Na shudra na purushaha.
Na shudra na purushaha.
Kintu asangas satchidananda swarupaha.
Kintu asanga satchidananda swarupaha.
Prakasha rupa sarvantaryami.
Prakasharupa sarvantaryami.
Chidakasha ruposmiti.
चिदाकाशरूपोऽस्मि
दृढनिश्चयरूपः
दृढनिश्चयरूपः
अपरोक्षज्ञानवान् जीवन्मुक्तः.
अपरोक्षज्ञानवान् जीवन्मुक्तः.
Okay. So now the student has raised the question, what is Jivan Muktaha? Nanu means but, and Jivan Mukta is the word we are discussing. Kaha means what. So what is, but who or what is this Jivan Mukta? So the teacher answers. The summary of the answer is given in this last bit from this Dhrida Nishchaya Rupaha Aparoksha Jnanavan. The one who has a firm conviction of Aparoksha Jnana, the one who has very firm Aparoksha Jnana, he is called as Jivan Mukta. So, what is Aparoksha Jnana? So, in Shastra, knowledge is divided into three types. The first type is called Pratyaksha Jnanam. Pratyaksha means experiential knowledge about whatever is in front of my eyes, and not just my eyes, all five of my sense organs. So, whatever is experientially available to me, and from that I have knowledge about that object, that is called Pratyaksha Jnanam. For example, this pen. This pen, I can see this pen with my own eyes. I can hold this pen with my own hands. And so I have experiential knowledge of this pen. And that is why I have pratyaksha jnanam of this pen. Okay, experiential, direct knowledge. Now, many times that's not the case, right? We don't have experiential knowledge, but we know about many things. For example, galaxies. Now, galaxies are very far away. We don't have experiential knowledge. We have not seen it with our own eyes, but still we have knowledge about it. Or Mount Everest. I know that there is a big mountain called Everest somewhere in the Himalayas, and it is covered in snow and various things. So I have what is called as paroksha jnanam of these things. It is indirect knowledge and it is not experiential knowledge. So it is remote knowledge of a remote object. Okay, so the object is not nearby, not available for my direct perception and direct experience, but still I have some knowledge. Now, both of these, paroksha jnanam and pratyaksha jnanam, are about objects of the world. Laukika Vastu. The only difference is a matter of distance. Is it available within my sensory perception range or is it far away? That is the only difference, remote and proximal. But they both refer to objects in the world. But when we talk about aparoksha jnanam, we are not talking about any object of the world. We are talking about the subject itself. The one who perceives, the one who is the witness, the one who experiences. So we know the rule, whatever is experienced is not the subject, is not me. And so the experiencer is the subject. And having knowledge about this subject itself, that is aparoksha jnanam. So, in other words, aparoksha jnanam is nothing but atma jnanam. It is self knowledge itself. And remember, it is not experience of atman. Okay, we don't say experience of atman, we say knowledge of the subject, knowledge of atman. And that is aparoksha jnanavan. So, when this word breaks here, this S shaped symbol, which is called avagraha, it converts to akara. So, that is why it becomes aparoksha jnanavan. Okay. So this aparoksha jnanavan indicates self knowledge. So the one who has this drida nishchaya aparoksha jnana. Drida nishchaya means firm conviction, firm understanding of Atmajnanam, of this Aham Brahmasmi knowledge. Such a person is called as Jivan Muktaha. Okay, so this is just a brief summary. Now he has also given some explanation of how to understand this Drida Nishchayaha, this Aparoksha Jnanam. So he says, Asangaha Sarvantaryami Satchidananda Swarupaha. This Aham Brahmasmi knowledge consists of the understanding that I am of the nature of Sat, Chit and Ananda. Limitless existence, limitless consciousness, and a bliss that is not really, we cannot talk about it as just an emotional state. Okay, and a total sense of limitlessness, that is Satchidananda Swarupaha. And this Atma, Brahman, is all pervading and yet unattached. Okay, so that is why Sarvantaryami. Sarvantaryami means all pervading, inherent, ever present, everywhere. So this omnipresent but yet unattached, asangaha, is the nature of this Brahman or Atman. And then he gives two examples, okay, of prakashaha and akashaha. Prakashaha means light and akashaha is space. Now, in Shastra, frequently we will find these examples being used for Brahman. To give the idea of Brahman, these two are the closest examples we can give. And if you remember the Pramanam topic, we talked about something called Upamanam. Upamana means analogy. So, using a similar known thing to describe an unknown thing, that is Upamana. And here we are using light and space, two very subtle entities, to try and understand this Atma. So, some qualities are given, some similarities between Akasha, Prakasha, and Atma are given to help us understand. So, the first one is that both are formless, Nirakaraha. So, we all know space doesn't have any form, right? And even light doesn't have any form. So, in the same way, this Atma also does not have any form. It is Nirakaraha. Then it is divisionless, Nirvikalpaha. If you take a knife, you cannot cut space, you cannot cut light. In fact, there is nothing we can do that will ever break space. Can't take a hammer to it. We can't build a wall around space. There is nothing that we can do that will ever divide space in reality. It may appear divided, but actually it is not a division of space at all. And same, of course, with light. You cannot cut it with a knife. You cannot do anything that can say that light is now divided. So it is nirvikalpaha, and of course, Atman is also nirvikalpaha, without any division and can never be divided. Then blemishless. So we can have air pollution, but we can't have akasha pollution, right? No blemish, no pollution of the world will ever affect space and light. Even if light touches a dirty cloth, light itself never becomes dirty. So even though light and space support everything, all objects, they themselves remain unblemished. They remain without any pollution whatsoever. So it is nirmalaha. Even though they are associated very deeply with every object, they remain untouched. So nirmalaha, and of course, Atman is also nirmalaha. Limitless, nissimaha, without boundaries. Have you ever wondered what can be the boundary for space? Where exactly does space stop? At which point? Does it have a point where it stops? And if there is a point where it stops, what is beyond that point? Is there anything? Can anything be there outside of space? So, when you think about it, for all intents and purposes, space is limitless. As far as we know, there is no boundary for space. Even if there is a boundary, we don't really know what is beyond that boundary. So, in that case, can it be called a boundary? So, for all intents and purposes, space and light both are without any boundaries. And of course, Atma is not bound at all, either by time or by space. It is eternal and it is all pervading. It is there everywhere. And then it is connectionless, nissangaha. Even though space is the support for all objects, it is untouched and unaffected by any object. Same with light. Whether light is used to reveal something very beautiful or something very ugly, that does not affect light in whatsoever way. In no way are these two affected, even though they pervade and are intimately associated with all the objects. Okay, so this understanding, this comparison between akasha and atma, or prakasha and atma, this comparison is just to help us get an idea of atma. Okay, any questions till now? Okay. So this is the idea being conveyed, that this akasha and prakasha, which have all these different qualities, this atma also, these qualities can be used to understand atma. And then he has given two words, asangaha and sarvantaryami. Asangaha is unattached and sarvantaryami means all pervading. So it is like the beads, the thread and the beads, right? The thread holds the beads together, it is invisible and it is unattached to the beads, and yet it pervades the beads. So it is all pervading and yet not attached, just like light or space. Space is there everywhere and yet it is totally detached from the objects of the world. So, this is the firm knowledge that this Jivan Mukta has, that I am not the body mind sense complex, I am Satchidananda Swarupa, I am Asangaha, I am Sarvantaryami, and the example is Prakasha and Akasha. And he has this firm aparoksha jnanam. And the author gives some further example. He says, the way the Ajnani believes that Dehoham, I am the body, Purushoham, I am male or even female, or Brahmanoham, I am a Brahmin, Shudroham, I am a Shudra. So the Ajnani, the way he firmly believes these things, that I am the body, I am a girl, or I am a boy, I am tall, I am short, I am a Brahmin, I'm not, I am, in a particular job, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter. These ideas, the way the Ajnani firmly believes. If somebody wakes you in the middle of the night and asks you, are you male or female? There is no confusion, there's no hesitation. There is an instant answer, right? Instant correct answer. So, the way the Ajnani believes these things, believes these labels, believes this Nama Rupa, in the same way, the Jnani believes has Dhrida Nishchaya. Dhrida Nishchaya means firm conviction, very firm, deep rooted understanding that Naham Brahmanaha, I am not a Brahmanaha, na Shudraha, I am not a Shudra, na Purushaha, I am not a male or female. In fact, Purushaha can even be taken more generally to mean human being. So, not even the identification with the status as a human being, but I am this Asangaha, Satchidananda Swarupaha, Sarva Antaryami. So, this firm knowledge that I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not any of these labels associated. In fact, I'm not even a human being, but I am Atma. Aham Brahmasmi. That is aparoksha jnanam. And the jnani has this very, very firm understanding. He is not just superficially accepted, but it is a very deep rooted understanding. So, most of us, we get caught in these, in fact, everybody until jnanam happens. So, that is the idea. We get caught in the nama rupa, we get caught in the names, the labels, the identification. So, many things happen. I feel, I believe I'm a girl, I'm tall, I weigh this much, and all these identifications start to happen. So we say, I am, for example, I am a human being. Now, in Shastra, according to this, I am represents the existence portion. I am represents existence, and that is correct. The human being portion of the sentence, when I say I am a human being, the I am portion represents existence, but the human being represents a wrong conclusion. So I know I exist, but I have drawn a wrong conclusion about what I am. So I am a human being, there is existence, and also a wrong conclusion. So this has to be corrected with correct jnanam. And that is why Aham Brahmasmi. And the one who has this very firm knowledge is a Jivan Muktaha. Okay? Any questions?
Layman understanding of Antarjami, Sarvantarjami, that he knows everything. Like if we imagine God or Paramatma, then we say he's Sarvantarjami. Uh, so prevailing, does it mean that it knows everything, or that is just layman?
That's Sarvagnya.
Okay,
Knowing everything is Sarvagnya, but Sarva Antaryami means inherent or all pervading, means it is there everywhere.
everything.
For example, space. Space is there everywhere.
Okay, thank you.
All objects occupy space. So they are in space. It's like that famous, is the bottle in space or the space in the bottle?
Yeah,
Both are true. That is
yes,
why Sarva Antaryami.
thank you.
Okay, so this is the answer to the question, what is Jivan Muktaha? Now, the teacher continues some more. And of course, he doesn't know that we have discussed this bit, that what is the benefit of being a Jivan Mukta? Why should I be a Jivan Mukta? And this we have discussed already in the very first class, right? So while living, these are the benefits. If somebody asks, why should I become a Jivan Mukta? What is the benefit? These five benefits. So we'll just have a very quick revision. I'm not going to go into this. So if you can just tell me the names.
जिज्ञासा निवृत्ति, विद्यानंद प्राप्ति,
Yes.
कार्पण्य निवृत्ति, आघात निवृत्ति, and दक्षता प्राप्ति.
Yes. So a Jivan Mukta is basically one who has um, a life that is free from shock, free from desperation, free from clinging, a more of a happy life, a satisfied life, a content life. That doesn't mean that he is lazy or doesn't do anything. He also has efficiency in everything he does. So this is the benefits of Atma Jnanam, which we have discussed in detail
Yeah.
previously.
The first lecture, yeah, second.
Yes. So this is the idea, that this is Jivan Mukta. Now there is a question that what happens at the time of death to this Jivan Mukta. So the Jivan Mukta also must have a physical death, right? Meaning the physical body must die. So what happens to him at that time? Marana Kale, at the time of death of the body. What happens to this Jivan Mukta? So, emotionally speaking, the Jivan Mukta is very objective to the body. He is not attached to the body, not just his own body, but everyone's body, to the bodies of people and all beings around him. He's very objective. And he sees death as a natural part of life. He takes death in stride. So he's not unduly disturbed by it. But there is one more aspect that we must discuss, which the author has now raised. We will read this and discuss. ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मीति
ब्रह्मैवास्मीति
अपरोक्षज्ञानेन
अपरोक्षज्ञानेन
निखिलकर्मबन्धविनिर्मुक्तः स्यात्.
निखिलकर्मबन्धविनिर्मुक्तः स्यात्.
So even though the jnani is not really unduly disturbed by the death of his body or by the death of other people's body, what actually happens at the time of his physical death? So the author has answered. Brahma eva aham asmi iti aparoksha jnanena. This is the breakup. Brahma eva aham asmi iti aparoksha jnanena. So Brahma eva aham. I am indeed Brahman. I am Brahman alone. This aham asmi. I am Brahma eva. This aparoksha jnana, because of this knowledge, the power of this knowledge is such that it frees him from all the bondages of karma. Nikhila means all, karma we will see. Bandha means bondage or a shackle. Vinirmuktaha means to free, to eliminate, to remove. So he is freed or liberated from all the bondages of karma. So while living, he had those five benefits of being a Jivan Mukta. But at the time of death, Marana Kale, at that time, he has another benefit, which is being free from all the shackles of karma. So now the question comes, what is karma? How is this jnani free from karma? For that, first we have to know what is karma. And so now we begin from this point on the topic of karma, understanding the different types and the law of karma. So before we begin that, any questions up till this point about any of
Medhaji, what did you say is Nikhil?
all, everything,
That is Vinirmukta.
free from. So free from all the bondages of karma. Okay, before we start karma, so this is going to be a new topic from this point on. So before that, any doubts about any of the preceding topics still here? Okay. So while living those 5 benefits, and now Marana Kale, we have one more new benefit, which is the Karma Bandha Vinirmuktaha, freedom from the karma. So now we will talk about what is karma. Now, generally, when you open a Sanskrit dictionary and you look at the word karma, they will translate it as action. To an extent, that is correct. In certain contexts, that is correct. But now we are going to look at it a little more deeper. The word karma means action. Action means anything that you do. Now, everything that you do has a consequence, right? Like Newton's third law. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So, this is something like that, but there are some more, uh, you know, complications involved. So, every action that you do has some reaction, it has some consequence. And this consequence in Sanskrit, we call it as phalam, karma phalam, the fruits of the action. Fruit of the action is nothing but consequence of the action. Like, if there's some glass on the table, if I push it, what is the consequence?
It
It will
breaks.
shift.
It will fall, right? If I push an object on the table, the consequence is that it will fall. So, like this, anything that I do, this is very simple, right? This cause and effect relationship, this bottle pushing. It is it happens immediately, so it is easy to connect and understand that when I push, it falls. So my action is pushing, the consequence is falling. Now, we are going to see that every action has two parts. And so, consequently, there will be two phalam, two consequences, because there are two portions of every action. The first portion is the visible portion called drishta phalam, or the drishta karma, the visible action which has a visible consequence. We'll take our very famous example. There is somebody walking on the road, and I am walking this way, and I push this person, and he falls down, maybe gets hurt. So, now what was my visible action?
Pushing.
Push
Pushing.
the person.
What is the visible consequence of that pushing?
Fall.
Fall.
Down and
Falling
get
down,
hurt.
getting hurt. So, that is the visible portion. Now, is there something we're missing? Some invisible portion of my action?
It's the intent.
Action.
Yes, the why did I push? The reason or the motive behind that action. That is the invisible portion of my action. So, any action that I do deliberately, there is a reason behind it. We don't do things just like that, right? There is some reasoning or there is some intention behind doing every action. So, this is the invisible portion. We call this as adrishta. Drishta means visible. Adrishta is the opposite. What is not visible? So, invisible. This adrishta karma, the invisible portion of my action, it has an invisible result. And that we are calling as adrishta phalam. So there is drishta phalam, which is visible, which you can see happening. And then there is something invisible, which is the adrishta phalam. This adrishta phalam is of two types, pāpam and punyam. So the visible result is called drishta phalam and the invisible result is called adrishta phalam, and it is of two types, pāpam and punyam. Now what are pāpam and punyam? They are the seeds for future pleasure and pain. So it is an invisible consequence that is kind of recorded on your account in a way. So it is stored somewhere, this pāpam and punyam account, and it is the seed for future pleasure and future pain. And how do I know if it is punyam or pāpam? If it results in future pleasure, it is punyam. If it results in future pain, it is pāpam. And what determines whether it is pleasure or pain? The intention of the action. Okay, so now for example, we'll come back to that walking and pushing example. I have pushed the person, he has fallen down and he's gotten hurt. Now suppose I pushed him because I don't like him and I wanted to see him hurt. What is it, pāpam or punyam?
Pāpam.
Pāpam. Now suppose I pushed him because there's a bus coming behind him and he had not seen, and if I had not pushed, he would have been more, in a bigger accident than the small damage by falling. Now what is it?
Punyam.
Punyam. Why?
The intent was to save him.
The intention was to save him, not to hurt him. It was actually to protect him from a bigger pain, right? So that is why it is punyam. So any action that benefits other people or even benefits yourself is called, it generates punyam. And any action that is likely to cause somebody pain or even yourself pain, that generates pāpam. So the intention with which the action is done generates either punyam or pāpam.
Can
Now,
I ask?
yeah, I'll just open for
Okay.
questions after a bit. There's
Okay.
2 points to cover. Now it is important to remember that punyam and pāpam are not morality based consequences. It is not about a good deed or a bad deed. So when we talk about punyam and pāpam, they are not commandments, they are not morality. It is not about ethics. It is about the intention itself. Whether the intention was to cause pleasure or whether the intention was to cause pain. And that is what generates these seeds for future pleasure and future pain. And when that situation again fructifies, then we experience it either as pleasure or as pain. So it is very subjective in nature. Pleasure and pain are subjective, right? Whereas morality, there's a lot of debate. Now, let me give you one more example to help understand. Suppose there is a doctor who is operating on a patient and then the patient dies on the operating table. Now, is it punyam or pāpam for the doctor?
It is not pāpam.
Okay.
Depends on his intention, his or her.
Yes, it depends on the intention. Let's assume the doctor wants to save his life. That is the intention. Now,
Punya.
punyam, right? He set out with a good intention. He wanted to help this person. He wants to save his life. And so it is punyam. Now, there was a story in some movie or somewhere there's a story. So there are two people who have to go for a job interview, and both of them have applied for the same job, and both of them have to reach that interview place. And one person, he doesn't want the other one to succeed. He has some hatred towards him, and so he doesn't want him to succeed, he doesn't want him to get the job. So what he does is he throws some nails on the road. So when that other person is going in his vehicle, it gets punctured, and now he's not able to take the vehicle any further, and he's standing on the side of the road. And obviously the intention is that because of this he will get late, he will miss the interview, and this, the first person, he will get the job. That is the idea that he has. But incidentally, what happens while he's waiting on the side of the road, there is one more car that passes, and which offers to give this man a lift to the place. And he goes, and you know how these movies are, as it turns out, that person who picked him up, he's the boss who has to take the interview. And yeah, and then in the car they speak, they bond a little, and this boss, he likes this man, he sees that he's good and qualified and he has merit. So when they go to the interview, he takes the interview and he likes this man anyway, and so he hires him. Now the first person, can he say that because of me, because I threw nails on the road, and I caused this fellow to get the job? In a way, yes. But is it punyam or papam?
Pāpam.
It's
Pāpam.
pāpam. His intent was not so.
Yes, it is papam. Because his intention was not good. His intention was actually to harm the other fellow. And because of, and incidentally, whatever happened, happened. So sometimes there is no connection between the drishta phalam and the adrishta phalam. Superficially, it may appear that this drishta phalam turned out to be good, but actually, the adrishta phalam, it need not be in the same direction. So, what superficially appears as a moral action, a drishta moral action, if it appears visibly as like some moral action, it need not have the same adrishta phalam. Okay. So, to give you another example, so maybe you have heard of the Snow White story. So, there is a girl called Snow White, and there is an evil witch, and she wants to harm her. The evil witch wants to kill her. So, she disguises herself as an old lady, and she takes a poisoned apple and she gives it to Snow White. Snow White eats the apple and then falls into a coma, and then the story continues. But superficially, when you look at it, it looks like this witch offered a young girl an apple, and superficially it appears that this is a moral action. But actually, is it a moral action?
No.
Actually, will it generate punyam? She's offering a girl an apple, it looks like charity donation.
No, it is poisoned.
It is poisoned. She wants to hurt the girl, right? So therefore, is it punyam or papam for the old lady?
It's pāpam.
It is definitely papam. The intention was not to help anybody. It is not to, support anybody. The intention is to cause harm. So even though superficially it is disguised as a moral action, the adrishta phalam need not be punyam. Okay. So drishta phalam, what happens in the visible way, and adrishta phalam, what it actually generates, punyam or papam, they need not be same. In the job interview example, the drishta phalam is that he got a job, but the adrishta phalam is still papam. Okay. Sometimes, and okay, for example, in the other one, the pushing the person on the road, he fell down and got hurt. That is the drishta phalam, the visible result. But the invisible is still punyam, because the intention was to protect him. So drishta phalam and adrishta phalam, can be different. Sometimes they can be same, but sometimes they can be different also. Okay? So this is clear. What is, you know?
Yeah, I just wanted to know there's some actions, which are neither punyam nor papam. Like unknowingly you hurt somebody.
Yes. Suppose you're
So
walking on a road and there is an ant on the path. You didn't see, you have stepped
yeah,
on it and the ant has died. Is it punyam or is it papam?
it is neither papam nor punyam.
Yes. It is neither papam nor punyam. Why? Because there is no intention. You are not even aware that there is an ant on the road.
Yeah.
Many times this happens. We feel uselessly guilty over these things post the event. After realizing that, oh, I killed an ant accidentally, or sometimes even bigger things. At that moment, you didn't know. At that moment, there was nothing that could have been done. It is neither punyam nor papam. Because for punyam and papam to be generated, it has to be action plus intention.
Okay.
If there is no deliberate intention, then
Mhm.
no punyam, no papam. If there is only intention not backed by action, then still no punyam and papam.
But still, that is karma.
Which one?
We have killed the ant.
Yes, it is karma in the sense there is an action. Some action has happened. But is there karma phalam?
Okay, so it's neither of them.
Yes. Karma phalam is punyam or papam. Karma
Mm.
is the action.
Medha ji, how about killing the mosquitoes?
Yes. I knew this question would come. Today I was expecting. Yeah. So
The
it
intent
depends
is
on.
not to kill, the intent is to save ourselves.
Yes. So many times this happens that it depends on the intention. Sometimes if you kill the mosquito just to kill the mosquito, it is definitely papam. But if the intention is to save yourself, we know that malaria and all diseases and everything is associated with mosquitoes. So we want to protect ourselves. And so with that intention, if you kill the mosquito, it is still papam, but it is unavoidable papam and to a smaller degree. So it is, we can't help it. It has to be done because the body has to be taken care and protected. So small.
What about mercy killing or euthanasia, where we put the dogs to sleep? And sometimes, there is lots of controversy about this.
Yes, according to Shastra, mercy killing is not something we should be doing because we have to understand as individuals, we are not the distributor of karma phala. The karma phala data is Ishwara and Ishwara alone. So we must not interfere in those matters.
But in some cases, you want to help the patient is so in a bad shape that you want to help that person. That is why
Yes,
one thinks of these things.
but it is not your role to distribute life and death. That job belongs to Ishwara alone. And that is why mercy killing is not, um, you know, looked or approved by Shastra.
And that is because it can be exploited also, right?
Yes.
That maybe that is also one reason.
Can be exploited. That is more
Yeah.
of a legal concern. That is
Yeah.
not our concern.
Okay, right. So thank you.
Medha, I have one question here. When you said intention plus action gives you either punya or papa,
Yeah.
but what about only the intention? Say, for example, evil eye. Somebody is like just thinking of you or another person with really bad intentions, but are not able to perform any action towards that. Just having that toxic intention. What is that?
Just having a toxic intention will not result in papam or punyam. It has to be acted upon for it to become papam or punyam. Generally, what happens, people, whoever has these strong toxic intentions or bad, this thing, after one point, it comes out as action. It doesn't remain in the thought form any longer. It comes out as action for form.
But we also know that thoughts are very powerful, right? So these thoughts may, as vibration or somehow it goes and touches the other person.
No. No.
Okay.
Karma is not transferable like that.
Okay. So there is other than karma. So what concept does this fall into? The evil eye, or having this thought being really strong, and um, you know, say like in prison, people are thinking so many different things, and you really sense a different kind of energy there. Um,
That is just more of an emotional. We do pick up on emotional vibrations. We can understand what emotions the other person is. Those things happen. So picking up on emotions, subtle cues, that kind of thing. But it is not related to karma.
okay.
It is just a matter of you know mind and emotions. It is not related to karma. So we will see the law of karma. We have not yet come to that portion. So when we see that, you will see karma is not transferable. Whatever happens to you is because of your own actions in the past.
Mhm.
So your own actions, just because you did punyam doesn't mean that punyam will transfer to your children. No.
Hmm.
And just because you did pāpam doesn't mean it will transfer to your children. No. Or to your, spouse. No. That doesn't happen. Karma is not transferable. Just because somebody thinks bad about you, it does not affect you. It only affects them.
And does prayer play any role in this karma field?
Yes, prayer works.
Okay.
Prayer is the only exception where it is not just a thought, it is more of a manasika karma, where it's more of a mental action. Prayer is probably the only exception where when you pray, you are asking Ishvara that my upadhi is limited. So through your upadhi, bring about this thing. And probably that is the only one where, it generates punyam as a manasika or a mental action.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Medhaji, we have just one Mansika karma, that is praying.
Yes. No, we have a lot of vrittis, but as a manasika karma, prayer.
Thank you.
Vritti means thought. Okay. So this is pāpam and punyam. So this is the
Medhaji, sorry for interrupting. What about those karmas that we do? Suppose we have a subconscious mind, and a lot of actions are already registered in how to behave in a particular situation, and at times we behave without any intention. Suppose a mosquito, we're standing outside without harming. I mean, a mosquito is coming, and we know it's not going to harm anyone, and we just kill the mosquito. It's saved in the subconscious mind.
okay. True reflex actions don't generate any phalam. If it is a true reflex action, like sneezing, sneezing is a total reflex action. No? There's no deliberate idea that I want to sneeze or I don't want to sneeze, right?
Mhm.
Or
Yeah.
even when you touch something hot,
Yeah.
and the body takes over and you just pull your hand back. There is no thought at all. It is a complete reflex action. So that does not have any phalam. But it is hard to identify whether it is truly a reflex or whether it is just without any intention. You will
Yeah.
not find jnanis hitting mosquitoes. The conditioning is different.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
So it, even though it seems like a subconscious, sometimes there is still an intention, and always there is a choice whether to hit the mosquito or not. There's always a choice.
Yeah, one need to do practice free will very, very
Yes.
strongly.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
किससे
So
बातें कर रहे हैं?
So now let's proceed to the next topic. Yeah, what are punyam and pāpam? They are the seeds for the future pain and pleasure. They're basically potential form. Adrishta punyam sukham dadati, adrishta pāpam dukkham dadati. Means dadati means to give. Adrishta punyam gives sukham, adrishta pāpam gives dukkham. So that is easy enough to understand. Sukham is pleasure, dukkham is pain. So they present themselves later on as situations that cause pain or pleasure. So that is when they fructify. It is difficult to predict. In fact, it is impossible to predict when it will fructify. If I do a karma now, it is not easy to predict when the result or the phalam of that will fructify. We cannot tell that. It is an unpredictable, uncontrollable kind of, you know, fruit, consequence that comes about. It is in Ishvara's hands. So Ishvara is the one, the supercomputer who takes all the input of the action and intention and then has this store of punyam and papam and then later presents it to the individual in the appropriate time as a situation which is experienced either as pleasure or pain. Okay, so the manager, the supercomputer for all this management tasks of all the jivas, all the entire creation, that is Ishvara alone. Okay, so with this, today's topic is over. Yeah, and it is time up also. So next class we will see the types of karma and then the laws of karma. Okay, the different kind of laws. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So, like you said, when we are praying, we are doing mental action. So, when we are thinking about the other person, we are getting hatred about that person in our minds and doing something bad to that person to hurt that person. So, is it not a mental action which will hurt ourselves only?
No, it is a thought.
So, but when it is continuously happening, so what is?
Generally what happens is that when there is continuous thinking that I will I want the other person must be harmed or something, it generally comes out as action after enough thoughts come. There is enough compulsion that it actually comes out as an action itself. Yeah, but till the action happens, it is still thought and no phalam.
But our mind is still disturbed, right? When we are thinking to hurt the other person. So
Yes.
mind is disturbed. So that is also not good. Na? It is not a positive thing, but it's ultimately affecting us only, right?
Yes, of course.
So
See,
that is
when we see the law of karma, you will understand the relationship that when I hurt somebody else, it is in accordance with their own prarabdha.
okay.
And not because I did it. If you remember Bhagavad Gita, okay, you may have done it. There is no causing this to anybody else. Arjuna in 11th chapter, he's very concerned that I am going to kill all these people. And Krishna says, they are just killed through you, not by you.
Yes,
There's
yes.
a difference. So when I step on the ant and I feel unnecessarily guilty, it need not be, because it was the ant's, phalam at that moment to die, ant's prarabdha to die. And I was just the instrument that carried out this.
So what is this akal mrityu? Some people say that natural death doesn't take place, then it is akal mrityu. So that was only prarabdha karma only that that made it. Okay.
People call it by different names, but death is finally just the end of prarabdha karma. When prarabdha is over, the body is dropped. That's all.
Thank you so much, Medhaji.
Medhaji, Medhaji, the punishments which are given in the prison for the prisoners,
Yeah.
the intention is to make them learn a lesson or something like that. So will it be categorized as punyam or pāpam?
If the judge is fair and if his intention really is to bring justice, then yes, punyam. As a judge, it is his dharma. It is his profession, his occupation, his dharma, duty to ensure fair justice to the citizens, right? And as long as he upholds that, it is punyam, even if he sentences a man to death.
Okay.
So is capital punishment not considered the same as we discussed while discussing euthanasia?
No. See, in case, let's take Arjuna's case. Arjuna was a warrior. He's supposed to fight, and it is a dharma yuddha, right? It is a battle for justice, for righteousness. And it has led to this moment where he is now in the battlefield and he has to fight. At this moment, can he say that I will fight without killing or I will not fight?
No.
In fact, in the first chapter of Gita, Arjuna is confused. He's like, if I fight and if I, kill these people, it is actually pāpam for me and I will go to Naraka. And Krishna scolds him and says, this is a dharma yuddha. You are a soldier. You are a king. You are supposed to fight. If you don't fight, then you will go to Naraka.
Mm.
Not you will go to Naraka, but the idea is that if he fights, he will get swarga, Krishna says. Meaning punyam. Meaning it is his duty to fight over there. Not just fight, but kill also. There it is his duty. In the case of mercy killing, we don't know what prarabdha holds, right, for the other person. It is difficult. These kind
Yes, but the intent in mercy killing is also to alleviate the suffering and pain.
But we have to understand that maybe it is the prarabdha of that person to undergo this suffering.
If the person escapes suffering in this birth, then again he
It will
has to
come
go
back.
through.
It never goes away. That is the idea.
Mhm.
It's the
Yes.
same with even suicide. Suicide is also considered mahapāpam. We have been given the gift of life, and to throw it away is considered mahapāpam. Just to escape pain. Then it will come back, double. So whatever was pending will come back, and along with that, the added pāpam of suicide also will come back. So that is why suicide also is considered mahapāpam. Remember that pāpam and punyam are not moral actions. It is not about, do or don't do. It is pleasure or pain. And nobody likes pain. Everyone tries to avoid pain. So these are the seeds for those future pleasure on or pain. But we have been conditioned some many times, especially in India, pāpam and punyam refer to certain things you do or you don't do. This is a punya karma or this is a papa karma. But it all depends on the intention and the action.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, we'll stop for the day. We'll continue in the next class. Let's end with the prayer. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnasya
Shanti.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. That's it. Thank you all and see you next time.
That's it. Thank you.
Om Tat Sat.
Thank you, Medhaji. Thank you.
Thank you, Medhaji. Thank you, Medhaji.